Hello and welcome for joining me for this revision workshop. If you've got any questions as we go through, please do ask. Before we begin, what I'd like to do is just introduce myself and tell you a little bit about me, my background, etc. And then I've got my list of revision ideas, which I've been given over the last 13 years of tutoring. Plus, there's ideas from working with my own kids and from what I've learned, kind of like in my degree and all the other courses I've done in the years since starting. Basically, I started working in early years, 25 years ago when my youngest daughter was young. And then after that, I was doing my diploma in preschool practice. And when I finished that, I decided that I was going to take the plunge and do my degree, which was an open degree through the Open University focused on childcare and education. But at the same time, I thought that my oldest daughter might be mildly dyslexic. I'd done a course on supporting reading and spelling difficulties at the local college. And at the end of the course, we'd had to do a case study, and I did it on my daughter. And at the end of the course, the tutor kind of like said to me, Dawn, it might be worth having a word with her school and just seeing what they say. So I plucked up the courage, went into the school and kind of said, look, what do you think? And they basically said, well, dyslexia is an excuse for laziness. There isn't really a problem, so you'll be fine. And I didn't have the confidence back then to fight my corner. So I thought, okay, well, if I can learn as much as I can about different learning styles, maybe what I learn will help her as she progresses through school. Not that she ever really wanted my help, but that was my idealistic thoughts at the time. So I then started doing these courses on different learning styles, dyslexia, different neurodivergencies. I also started working in a hostel. It was a hostel attached to a specialist school for children who couldn't cope in mainstream schools because they were profoundly autistic. And some of the things I learned along the way was, especially from working in the autism base, everything was adapted to the needs of the individual. It was brilliant. It was very holistic in the way that they did things. But one of the other things I learned through the courses was that if we go through a worksheet and then another worksheet and another worksheet and another worksheet, basically what we're doing is creating one memory. And the more worksheets we do, we're making that memory stronger. But if we have a neurodiverse brain and it doesn't think in a linear fashion, or you're sat in an exam and you're stressed and your brain again just isn't thinking in a linear fashion, the odds of it finding that piece of information are very, very remote. So if we use a range of different resources, what we're doing is we're creating multiple memories. So that way, when our brain is kind of like in panic mode or just not thinking in a straight line, is more likely to find one of these other memories and therefore make it easier to recall the information that we're looking for. So when I started the tutoring business back in 2012, that was a big part of what my philosophy was learning needs to be relevant to the child that you're working with. Learning needs to be interactive, and you need to use a range of multiple different resources in order to support the child for their learning. But I think as well, more importantly, it was respect every child as if it was your own child that you were working with. What would you expect for that child? But anyway, enough about me. Moving on to the revision ideas. And like I say, please do shout if you've got any questions at all. When you're revising, try and use a minimum of 5 different colours because it stimulates different neuro pathways and makes, and the other thing is as well, it will look more visually appealing. If you've got a piece of paper like this, the odds of you going back to it is very, very remote. Whereas if it's more colourful with different different colors and maybe illustrations and things, you're far more likely to look at it again. So it makes it more appealing to revisit. But prior to that, before you actually get started, what I would do is decide in advance actually what it is that you're going to use your time for. So whether you've decided that, okay, it's Tuesday today, on Tuesday, I'm going to do half an hour based on poetry, or I'm going to do half an hour based on simultaneous creations or creative writing or whatever it is that you're going to be doing. Decide what you're going to do and then be specific about what you're actually going to do. So rather than just saying I'm going to do and in spectacles, think about what it is you're actually going to be doing. So I'm going to look at a past paper, or I'm going to look at the mark schemes, or I'm going to find six quotes for Mr. Burling, or whatever it is, but be very specific and decide in advance what you're going to do, so that when you actually come to sit down and do it, you're not just sat there for the half an hour that you were going to use, kind of going, what should I do? I could do that. Maybe I should do that. No, I don't really feel like that. I might do this instead. And before you know it, the half an hour's gone. You haven't actually done anything productive. You've just had half an hour of contemplation of what you ought to be doing. If you can like think, I don't really feel like revising yet, it's still 6 months until the proper exams, then start small. Just commit to say 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes a day, and then build from there. Because if you start with a kind of like, okay, it's October now, nearly November, so I'm going to start doing 2 hours of revision every day, 7 days a week until my exams in the summer. And the odds are you're not going to do it because you've been overambitious too early. Whereas if you start small and build up to it, that incremental kind of like snowball effect of what you do each day, those little tiny bits, will be so much more effective than kind of like 10 hours this week and I'm bored of revising. I won't do any next week because I did loads this week. And before you know it, you're kind of like, it's just been put on hold. You get out the habit. Whereas if you can start the habit with small little bits and build that up, it will prove to be far more effective. And 10, 15 minutes a day is far better than doing nothing. So I think another thing as well, what we need to remember, I think as adults, as parents, we can like, we go to work, we sit at a desk normally, and we can like, it's quiet around us and we focus on what we're doing. And we anticipate that that's how our children want to work as well. That's how um, they're going to be comfortable revising, but very often it's not. Sitting at a desk is very, very uncomfortable a lot of the time. So if they feel more comfortable just laid out on their bed or laid out in the middle of the sitting room floor, maybe sitting in the garden if it's a nice day, whatever it is, maybe walking around, kind of like reading their notes or listening to a podcast about Romeo and Juliet or whatever it is. If that's what works for them, they're going to absorb a lot more information than if they're uncomfortable and fidgety, because they're not going to be able to focus on the thing they're supposed to be focusing on. They're going to be more focused on the fact that they're uncomfortable. I hope that makes sense and it wasn't just waffle. Something you can do as well, which will generically help you with revision, is just reading. Because for English especially, it will help you build your grammar, it will help you with things like punctuation and spellings and stuff like that. It doesn't need to be anything specific. In fact, if you can read a range of stuff, that's even better. But reading just kind of like 10, 15, 20 minutes a day will make a big impact. So that's just a generic thing. Audiobooks do work, maybe not as well, but audiobooks are better than nothing. And analyze think things. So kind of like if you're watching, your parents are watching the news, or you're watching the news or something, think about the people that they're talking to, think about the people, think about the story that they're telling, because there's normally everything, a film or whatever, is normally done with a purpose involved. So start analyzing it, because then when you come to do your literature or your language and you've got to analyze the text, it'll come far more naturally to you than if you can like just accept everything you're told on face level, surface level. And on days where you can't really be bothered to watch or to do revision, maybe watch YouTube clips or something based on your revision. You might make a few notes, but even just having a YouTube clip playing in the background or watching a YouTube clip or a relevant video is going to be better than nothing. And very often the hardest part is getting started. Once you're started, you kind of go, okay, I'll do that. I've started making notes. And then suddenly you realize that you're getting deeper and deeper into what you're doing. You're looking at your school books or whatever as well, or asking ChatGPT or whatever it is that for more ideas. And before you know it, you've got into it and you're kind of like, you're off now. Have sticky notes around the house with different quotes or different formulas or whatever else on it, dates if you're doing history or whatever. Because what that does is you will find yourself from time to time looking at them, but also as you walk past it, you'll find that it slowly goes into your subconscious. I'll try not to repeat myself, but when my lad did his A level English lit, what he did was he broke all the quotes down into images. So, like a mnemonic, I guess, but made from images. So, for example, he did Macbeth and he had a picture of a dagger, an I, the C, a B, four, and then a picture of him. So, is this a dagger I see before me? Blah, 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 blah. But by breaking it down like that, the effort that went into it, um, and then having it, he had some kind of like around the house, and then he copied them and we'd take them for dog walk. We had a dog at the time, so we'd take them for a walk with us, and I'd show him the quote and he had to recite it back to me. But that's something else I'll mention now, and I'll try not to repeat as we get to it. But the more active you are in involved, the more active you are in creating your revision notes, the better it's going to stay in. Because if all you do is highlight or read or whatever, it's much more passive. So you're less likely to remember the information than if you're actually actively involved in making your own notes. So it may be that you've got kind of like you've downloaded something, but then copy it for yourself and use the color and creative letters and things, fonts and things like that. Like I say, whether it's done by hand or whether you do it on the computer doesn't matter. But get as involved by hand is better, but be as actively involved with it as you can be, rather than just using generic stuff off the internet. Um, I've got here, use a mix of resources. So you can use things like YouTube, mind maps, post-it notes, past papers, model answers, etc. Because like I said earlier, the more resources you or the more variety you use, the more memories you're creating. So when you're sat in that exam kind of thing, I can't remember. It doesn't matter. Well, it does matter, but your brain now has more places to go to where it can find that thing to help you remember rather than having to rely on that one thing that you did. And the more, like I say, the more interactive you are of creating those memories, the stronger they will be and the more likely it is that your brain's going to find them. And again, use different colors because that will make those neuro pathways even stronger, making it even easier for your mind to find them when needed. So when you're, this is moving on a little bit, when you're, if you're doing English, when you're writing your essays, try and be subtle with your quotes. I always use like an analogy that if you were to be given a detention, you wouldn't go home and kind of go, Mom, Dad, or whoever, guess what? I've been given a detention. What you'd do is you'd kind of like try and drop it into conversation discreetly and hope that they didn't notice, because you need to tell them, but you don't want to make a big thing about it. But you do need to pop quotes in there if you can, but try and make them subtle. And it's the analysis of those quotes which will get you the deeper marks. I won't talk about that too much now because that's not revision, but yeah, just try and be subtle with your quotes. And what something else I would do is create some sentence openers. There's some in the membership group if you're a member. If we tutor you, then let us know and I can send you the free link. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, create some generic sentence openers so that when you go into the exam, you can just tweak and adapt them accordingly rather than relying on trying to come up with something on the spur of the moment in stressful conditions. Um, and I think more importantly than anything is be proud of your efforts, because the goal is to go walking into your exam knowing that you've done your very best, because no matter the final result, if you've know that there is nothing more you could have done, people will be proud of you and you can be proud of yourself. So the next thing I've got written down is start with self-reflection, do a brain dump, write down your goals, your strengths, your fears, and the support that you think you're going to need. So, for example, like I said earlier, think about why you want to pass your exams. Is it just so that you never have to do maths again? You never have to do English again? Is it so that you can get onto a certain course at college or A levels or whatever? Or is it because you want to get into a certain university? Know why it is that you need to get through these exams. Your goals can be huge, they can be tiny, it doesn't matter. But the more you keep focused on what your goals are and keep it maybe written down somewhere around you, so the easier it is to be motivated to actually get on with the revision on the days where you can't really be bothered. and think about what your strengths are. If you're kind of like really fantastic at creating beautiful, colorful posters and things, use that as your revision tool. If you're amazing at making PowerPoints and stuff, don't know if people still really use PowerPoint, but you know what I mean. Use that as your revision tool. So work with your strengths. Use that as your focus for um, learning. I mean, it could be that your strength is, I don't know, doing keepy uppies or something. So each time do you keepy up, you have to say a date or an event in history or whatever it is that you have to do, so that you're kind of like focusing on your revision while you're doing something you actually enjoy. Because again, you're more likely to actually get on with it if it links to something that you enjoy doing. What is it that puts you off revising? Is it the monotony of it? Is it because you don't know what to do, you don't know how to do it? If it is, if you acknowledge that, if it's monotonous, okay, well, what can I do to spice it up a bit? I tell you what, I can I can use, I don't know, rainbow writing or something to do my past paper, or I can I can have, say there's 20 questions on this past paper. I can put numbers 1 to 20 in a pot and pull a number out, and that's the next question I'm going to do. Um, that could be tricky because at times it could mean that you're doing the really hard question before you do the easy questions. But whatever it takes to try and make it a bit more interesting. Maybe it's having music playing in the background, or maybe it's having something to fiddle with while you're working. Whatever it is, if that's going to make it easier for you to get on with it, then feel free to go for it. And if there's something that you know you struggle with, how are you going to get that support? Is it something that you need to ask your mum and dad for? So is it, for example, you've got one of the modules is this, and that's something you're missing. Okay, in that case, what do we need to do? Do we need to download something off the internet? Is there books we're going to need? Do we need to get outside help in? Do you need to speak to your teacher and ask for more detailed notes because it doesn't make any sense? Ask them, spend some time with you. Some teachers will, some teachers won't. Some teachers will just say, well, ask your friends for their notes. Whatever it is, though, if there's areas where you are going to need support, acknowledge that early and get that support and look for that support so that you can kind of like get it up and running, if you like, and maybe even ticked off. And when you do write kind of like notes like this, kind of like why you want to do it and what your strengths are, what your fears are, what you're going to do today. What I would also do is when you finish is write yourself a note of what you've done and how you feel it went. Because then in a couple of months' time, and you kind of go, I'm doing revision and I am not getting anywhere. What you can do is you can look back and kind of go, oh, actually, I am getting somewhere because a couple of months ago I didn't understand that. Now I find it really easy. And you can kind of like acknowledge yourself, give yourself a pat on the back, congratulate yourself. You don't need to tell anyone else if you don't want to, or you can tell your parents, your siblings, your grandparents, whoever it is, and credit yourself with what you have achieved. Because, like I say, the snowball effect of just kind of 5, 10, 15 minutes a day does accumulate over time, and it will make such an impact, and you will then start to see the progress. And it is that snowball effect which will help you so much in the actual exam. Um, I've put again, clarify why you're revising, which I've just said, because and that will keep you going on days when you can't really be bothered. Reflect on future goals again, we've already said that, and celebrate your effort and progress and not just the results, because it's the effort which is what should be credited as much as the actual results. Because some people will just walk into exams and they'll do ridiculously well. No one's put that much effort in. Well done for fantastic for getting the grades, but equally fantastic to those people who also tried really, really hard. In fact, more credit to those people who tried really, really hard. If there's something that you're doing and say it's the quadratic formula and you can't remember it, write it with your non-dominant hand. You don't want to write reams and reams like this, but if you use bright colors or colors and your non-dominant hand, it's making the brain think harder. So you're more likely to remember it than if you just can't write it down with your normal hand. but don't overuse it. Just use it for reinforcements of tricky concepts. Okay, we're getting to the end. You'll be pleased to hear. Drinking and motivation. I've mentioned this before. Don't overestimate what you can do in one go. Start small with small manageable chunks and build consistency rather than kind of like jumping straight in and going, yep, I'm going to change the world. And by the second day, you're bored. Just do small chunks, commit to half an hour. And then you kind of like get started and you kind of think, actually, I'm going to keep going because this isn't so bad. I've nearly finished it now. So I might as well just finish it today. Then I don't have to do it tomorrow. Because very often getting started is the hardest thing. So if you just commit to a short period, okay, do it. Today I'm going to commit to opening my book. Okay, I've done that. Well, now I've opened my book, I must pick up my pen, and then it just kind of like avalanches from there. This is something I've suggested to people in the past when they've kind of like looked at the math syllabus and it's kind of like huge, whether you're doing the high or the foundation paper, it doesn't matter. You look at the syllabus and you just go, how am I going to get through all that? What I suggest you do is you print it out or write it out or ask your teacher for a copy or whatever, cut it into individual things and again put it in the jar and then kind of go, okay, well, pick one out the jar and that's what I'm going to be doing today. Whether you create yourself a this is how you solve sheet or whether you do some past papers, some past exam style questions, or whether you do something else, entirely up to you. I'm a great advocate for using games, kind of like making pairs games and things like that for memory strengthening tools. What you can do is create yourself questions and answers, and you have to match them up, whether it's kind of like maybe, I don't know, whether it's a maths question with the answer or whether it's kind of like a quote for this character and you have to find the corresponding quotes. You can either play by yourself or you can play with others. But it does help strengthen the memory, and also again do more interactive things like that will help create the different memories. Treat every session as progress, even if it doesn't feel like it. Like I say, it is that snowball effect, and recognize that as your confidence will grow through small wins and persistence. And this is something that I often say to parents when they get in touch, that very often, if you can make it enjoyable, the more you're going to want to have a go. The more you have a go, the better you get. The more confident you become. So you kind of like, okay, I can probably do this. So then you're more willing to have a go. And the more you have a go, the more confident you get, the better you become. And it becomes this positive spiral. So yeah, make it fun for yourself. Don't make it a chore. I hope this has helped. What will do is I've made this into a PDF. I'll pop it into the notes for you to help yourself too. Just so that you've got kind of like an overall summary, if you like, of what I've been chattering on about. There's also in our membership group an increasing number of kind of like revision. There's a couple of sections on revision, and there's some resources such as sentence openers and things as how to revise PDF. There's things like relationships in Romeo and Juliet, kind of like for you to, it's a revision guide, if you like. It highlights, I think, different things to look out for on quotes and the impact it would have on the audience. There's one for Supernatural in Macbeth, so I've got my list here for there's Gothic themes in Jekyll and Hyde, context in what's he called? And Inspector Calls. And then there's a few maths ones, and they're increasing month by month. Then there's also, in addition, different sessions. There's a revision session once a fortnight, which will be something more on a Wednesday evening, which will be something more structured. So it might be, for example, that this week we're going to look at Supernatural and Macbeth. And so we just work through the text together. We can have conversations, and we can highlight and look at different ideas and work as a team, if you like, to try and create the best revision notes that we can. Another week it may be that we'll go through circle theorems and we'll look at the different theorems, and then we'll look at some questions and work our way through those. So there's the maths, or there's the revision sessions, which are more formal, and then there's also a maths and an English session. English is bi-weekly and maths is weekly, and those ones are much more revising through games. So it might be something like try and think, say it could be anything. It could be, say, simultaneous equations or something. And as you go around the snakes and ladders board, we'll all have a game of snakes and ladders. And as you go around the board, you have to answer the different question based on um, simultaneous equations. Or it could be that we'll have a pairs game and it will be kind of like trying to match the quote to the character from a specific book. Or it could be trying to match the definition of the definition of the term and the actual term itself that used in poetry or whatever it is. But that's if you're a if we tutor you, let me know, like I say, and I can send you the digital download link. You wouldn't get access to the revision sessions, but you would get access to all the kind of like resources and things. If you want the other one where you do get access to the resources, then it's £12.97 a month, and that will go live as of next week. Next week being the beginning of November 2025. So yeah, I hope this has been helpful. And if you do have any questions, please do let me know. And thank you for joining me. Thank you. Take care and see you soon. Bye.